Hello, I am the Shaded Master, and this is my AGDQ submission of Mario Kart World All Tracks Classic. Nope, that is not. Alright, so this category is all 30 tracks of the game played in the standard 3-lap course layout, which specifically means no highway intermission parts, such as seen in the knockout tours. So just setting up the settings here. Of course, this is the latest game in the franchise that completely overhauled the trick system in particular, and gives way for a wide range of very insane shortcuts that we can show off here. So we're going to start off with Koopa Troopa Beach. 3, 2, 1, go. So of course there's two main components to this run. We have the shortcuts, and especially the RNG. It's Mario Kart. You know it, you love it. So already starting out, we at least hope to get a mushroom here. Well, other than that then, we're driving in a circle. So in terms of RNG, of course we have to deal with mainly the CPU, and blue shells, red shells, lightnings, the sort. And in terms of our items, there's not much we can get, especially in first place, as there are two main strategies. There's either front running, which is what I much prefer to do, and bagging, where you lose places at the start of the race in hopes of getting better items, such as triple mushrooms or stars, to help you take shortcuts. So, and of course, there's our first lightning. Unavoidable, for the most part. But if we do get far enough ahead, okay, we can happen upon dropped items such as mushrooms and stars. But otherwise, we are driving in a circle. Ah, here comes our... Okay. So that's the scary thing with red shells in particular, is that second place theoretically cannot get red shells, but third place can. So if third place gets triple reds and then passes second place, that means we will get triple redded, which we cannot protect against. But next up, DK Spaceport. And while I did say the normal 3-lap tracks at the start, there's a handful of courses that either have more than 3 laps or are not repetitive laps. As you can see, we're just going in a single line here. And here it is. It's DK. 1,500 meters. Oh. A nice little skip there at the start. Now, we do mainly want to get double items, so we're hoping that we're not about to get red shelled here. And in terms of the big items that we want, a super horn would be useful, just to block for one blue shell, like that. Or, you know, red shells. As well as the feather, which is the biggest power-up to front running in this game, that allows you to take some very massive shortcuts. For instance, on this stage, we'd be able to cut these corners and jump over these green patches in the middle. But, unfortunately, holding this super horn is a lot more important right now, as feathers are still comparatively rare. And of course, that is the classic The other nice thing with the Super Horn in this game, at least, is that the Boo power-up cannot steal the Super Horn. Unlike in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's a second course down. I'm playing as Swoop on the Baby Blooper, as this combination gives us very high acceleration. As well as some very hidden stats with regards to the types of terrain that we're driving over, such as road or dirt or water. Next up we got Metro City, another non-repeating track course. And here we're going to see a little bit more rail grinding, one of the new additions, as well as the char jumps. So of course here is a feather. That was a bad hit. Good for dodging red shells because unfortunately there's nowhere good to use it early in this stage. But we will hold on to it for a little bit. I've lied. I'd like to get a better defense item. And yeah, being in first place, our biggest concern is farming up coins. As you get 5% more speed when you have 20 coins. So we want to get up to 20 as fast as possible. But otherwise, a very standard course. Not too heavy on the shortcuts in the middle. Of course, we want to keep cycling items. Okay. Here is another very funny item, is Kamek, who will fly as far forward as needed to curse us and transform us into a random enemy, as well as spawn random enemies along the track. Which will also cancel our drifts if we're in the middle of one. So we really don't want to get hit on, like, turns. I see we got a blue shell coming for us. But of course, here we finally have our first really big skip. We're going to take this rail and... Okay. Not exactly how I planned that to go, but still went through well. I specifically wanted a left trick off, but we managed to save it. And finally, we have our first 3 laps repeating. Very standard, and one of the best. Whistle Stop Summit. Very heavy on the rails. And just ultimately a very clean course when performed perfectly. So we can... Okay. There's a chance that we get a second place box, because there is a path up to the left that CPU will sometimes take. Okay. That is always scary to take that jump there. But here we go. This is one of the most precise tricks. Hopefully I will get it. So we're gonna brake and trick left. Okay. So we specifically want to try and get up on those stairs to take an even further turn. Now it is very risky to be up on these rails, because if the lightning happens, we simply fall into the abyss. But of course, it's just a very fast-paced level like that. Now thankfully when Lakitu picks us up from the void, we can get a startup boost upon touching the ground. So it's not as bad to be thrown into the abyss in this game. Oh. We get a feather so we can take this very useful shortcut. And one more attempt, as theoretically nothing should reach me now. Okay. Unfortunate, but again, that is one of the most precise tricks to hit. But of course, there will be plenty more following up. So next up, Desert Hills. So this game has gotten a big rework since I believe it's Mario Kart Wii Showcase. And that is a lot flatter, unfortunately. But there is one shortcut at the end where we would love to have a feather. Good old standard gameplay here. And hey! Okay. So rather than continuing on this path, we're gonna head up here. And big jump over all this grass. Now, I will say that... Hello? Oh, we're gonna have to... Oh no. Okay. Never punish. Although, my banana... Okay. I was afraid my banana would be in the way from the first lap, but there was larger concerns. Although we're gonna hold this coin because as long as you hold a coin, you will be guaranteed to not get another coin item. Or another coin. You can still get a coin block, which kind of always hurts since you just have no defense at that point. But we're holding through. We got the shortcut at least once. But the double red shell and the lightning did not help. Next up, Mario Bros. Circuit. And of course, that kicked off the announcement of this game. Now, of course, we still hold out for more feathers, as there's a rail there on the left. There is a way to get onto that rail with no items, but it is something fierce to pull that off. But we're going to be taking some insane lines here. Oh, okay. Gonna go out of the way for these coins, and just kind of send that banana away. And we got a feather. Now we have to hope we keep it. Because, as I found, the Boo item really likes to target first place a lot. Primarily with CPU. It never feels like it targets anything else. Maybe that's just like second place is always getting it. But going for another feather, as we cannot take this shortcut on the third lap. Okay. So we have a blue shell. And so I get to show off this method of dodging blue shell then. We simply use a rewind. as that is one of the faster methods to dodge. There's also the option of diving off of the track, but that, of course, loses our items as well. So, while we have the power of time, we're going to use it. So next up, more rails. Oh. Okay, I was thinking of some... Well, this does have some rails. Shy Guy Bazaar. Now, if none of the CPU, like second and third, if they don't charge up... Okay, that's... Yeah. There is an alternate path up on the right, but... if the CPU also go for the startup boost, then there's simply no safe way to get up there. Ah, as we can see, getting the coin block in first leads to no defense when we really need it. Not the most punishing place, but now we can at least head up here. And now for the most part, we're going to be safe for red shells up here, since we also lost our items, our chance of items. Oh, that corner was actually the one place to use the feather to get up onto the wall, but we shall simply hold it for now. Now, I will say, this course has a very interesting intermission, where you actually... There's one version of the intermission where you get to drive around in Daisy's Palace on the left there. So we're gonna go for this. Yep. We just get to take that shortcut as... Whoa. A bit tighter. Okay. That was a good bazaar right there. As the game tries to triple red shell me. Very good. Now we got a handful of stages where their main focus is the insane tricks. First up, Wario Stadium. Now this course has gotten a major rework since its N64 counterpart. That 5-minute track is now one of the most insane tracks. We're gonna be a little safe here and go for an item. As you can see, we're just gonna spend a lot of this course flying off of rails. Now, of course, we do want to focus on speed, so we're first gonna go off to this outside rail. Get our coins up a little more. And we're gonna charge a jump so that we try and reduce our air time as best as possible. As being in the air is generally very slow, unless you're cutting massive corners. And now we're gonna take that corner much, much tighter. And now comes one of the most precise tricks in the game. This only works because coins give you a small boost when you collect them. Getting up onto this wall only works because we grab that coin before the jump. 2 protective items, very good. Now, if you do jump off of that rail too soon, you are then considered out of bounds. But otherwise, this has been a very... okay. There's a white sign there on the wall. You have to specifically hit the wall higher than that white sign for that trick to be possible. If you are too low, the failure is very punishing. Since you go flying off of the wall, and it is just a very disheartening thing. And next up, Airship Fortress. From Mario Kart DS, I believe. Also a massive glow-up. As similar to Wario Stadium, most of this is going to be spent on the rails. Hopefully. So we're immediately going to go over to the left here. And then hop across to head up here. We're going to go for this. Oh. I'll be completely honest. I thought I was going to fall off the rail. That's why I did that other trick. Because I was trying to go into a drift. But shockingly, I did make it. So we got this massive spiral. We try and release our turbo as soon as possible. And lap 2. Oh. So we're not going to go for this. So, yeah, you see that I tried to not drift right there because being in a drift and then rewinding, you're inevitably going to be out of position. Like if you're in a corner completely, it will hurt a bit to rewind, but it'll hurt a lot less still than getting hit by the blue shell. Because the blue shell would also get rid of our first item, if it's a defensive item anyways. So we would have lost a banana if we tanked the hit. But otherwise, this is a very currently good showing. Second blue shell. There's a chance I finish before that gets to me. Yeah. It could have been faster to jump off the track there, but still fairly good. And from here, we now have probably the one of the more difficult tracks to get very good at, but also one of the most necessary if you play this online. Bowser's Castle. Immediately, we're going to start with one of the hardest, well, one of the flashiest tricks. I wouldn't say hardest. So we're going to go straight down. And charge a jump. Never mind. Unfortunately, I got very sent out of position there by Dry Bones. But don't worry, we still have another flashy trick here. Off the side. And big trick to cut that massive corner. Now, a feather would be very helpful. We're going to, I guess, take the horn then. And if you get both of the tricks, you actually pass that meteor before it can fall, which just helps you take the corner a little tighter. But now we're going to try again here. Right trick. Okay. I didn't think that was going to work. having to focus on the blue shell and the trick is not easy. But... oh. Okay, we're gonna use that to be a little safe. It is far better than falling out of bounds. As much as I would have preferred to have it. Okay. Now I will say, the really only good place to get shocked in first place is in a glider, as you do not lose momentum while you're in the glider. But we're going to go for this again. Right trick, and just completely skip that first gap. Now, failing the shortcut the first time does help me show that shortcut, at least, what I'm skipping. But also, we're going to add another shortcut here. We're going to try to, anyways. So instead, we're going to immediately jump over here. Okay. Yeah. I tried. I wanted to be flashy. But still fairly good. We didn't fall off the track to the second shortcut. But yeah, having to hit both of those shortcuts all 3 laps makes it a very intense course. But next up, we got Dry Bones Burnout. Even more lava. We do not want to fall into the lava. Especially, like, completely into it. But first up, we got this nice little jump here. Which is most useful for getting an orange mini turbo. And now, while a feather would be useful, I'm going to try for the featherless shortcut as best I can. So we're going to head up here on this rail. And now, I will say, rails have a very quirky property of being very magnetizing. As we're going to go down here, off of this wall, and skip this lava pool. And yeah, that is the that's one of the optimal ways to go about this. A feather does make that ending a little safer, as we have. Because going over that rail for the lava pool, it's not dangerous per se, but the rail does like to magnetize you if you are not safe. So what you can do with the feather instead is just be much more direct about it. Now, this is very dangerous. The longer that a lightning does not appear, the more likely it can be to show up. It's not time-based or anything, it is just if the CPU pull the lightning. But it is always very likely to happen. As the further we are from the CPU, it's always going to be a chance. We're going to go for this one more time. And we got magnetized. But yeah, it's not dangerous because it just spits you out in the opposite direction back to the track. But next up we got what I would say like Nostalgia Road. We got Toad's Factory. It's back, finally, from Mario Kart Wii. It's not too different, but it's a classic. We're getting a second place box here, which means, okay, this is good for protection. As our main focus is getting our coins up on these conveyors. A feather is good for safety, but as we're gonna see, even first place gets to be a little safe about this section because we have these girders up here. Whoa, big jump. Okay. As long as we're not touching the mud, getting that much airtime is not the worst. Because the alternative is losing like 5 minutes. You hit the mud, that's it. You're going to 24th place right there. Now, it's not... With this much protection, it's not worth it to be cycling out our items this race. Okay. Thankfully, we hit the mud with the boost, so we only lost 2.5 minutes. But thankfully, we go just fast enough, since nothing has come to hit us, at least. Never actually got to stay on that middle conveyor belt without having to veer off from the crushers. But so far, it's seeming like a pretty standard Toad's factory. Hopefully, we'll actually hit this second girder, normally. Yep. Okay. I wanted to get a right trick to try and land on the second bulldozer, but that was still very good. And next up on Nostalgia Road, Choco Mountain. With one of the most intense remixes. Bowling Feather would be nice here, but this is otherwise a fairly standard course as well. The mud isn't as dangerous as the lava, because the lava will hurt you, and then it'll kind of like make you sink in. The mud will thankfully only make you sink in, so you don't lose as many coins, since you have to go through the mud anyways, at some parts. Although hitting these chuckyas, or no, charging chucks, that's what they are, is very detrimental to your health to not do that. Ooh, we got a feather. Okay. I will hope to keep this at least. Now there is a feather shortcut that you can do right here at the start, but we're gonna try and hold it in hopes of doing the much larger shortcut. So, rather than that shortcut, we're gonna charge up a jump here and head onto this wall and just jump across this whole mud pool for a much more direct line. Getting up onto that platform is probably a bit scarier than it looks, since you do have to be mindful that your wall riding does have a certain amount of time before it will automatically drop. I hear the noise of shells. Okay. I was hoping for one more feather, but this is not the worst. Try and take this, ooh, as close as possible. Please be a single. Okay. We should be good from here. We're definitely good from blue shells, as case in point. Oh, and the blue shell, unfortunately, everyone becomes immortal, but the blue shell went for sidestepper there at the end. And next up, Peach Stadium. Now this one is original, I think. I assume it is not based off of the Mario Kart 8 version. but it does very much feel like it. Although I will say, oddly, this song feels a lot more country than how this course really looks and plays. But otherwise, it's all vibes. It's a standard figure 8 course, I would say. Much similar to Mario Bros. Circuit. Now we would like to get... Oh, big jump. I intended the first one to be a big jump, not the second one. But... we are getting... I'm gonna choose to rewind there, just because getting hit on a slope, your acceleration is not good on a slope. Oh. Alright. Thankfully it did avoid me. We got cows. Hopefully not to land on one. Which we're going to be seeing a lot more of pretty soon. A feather. This seems to be a very deadly course. We've gotten quite a lot thrown at us so far. Now that corner is one of the spots to do a feather shortcut, but we're gonna try and go for the second one. Unfortunately, we have to hold our items so long, but here it is. We're at this very special rail up here. Trick off early so we don't hit the ramp part at the end. Oh, this... The blue shell's not going to reach me, but this is a good set of items. Okay, the blue shell might reach me. In which case... we are going to take the jump off. Because of the lightning, if I were to rewind, I would have likely rewound and had absolutely no momentum. So we're just better to take the jump off and get the Kamek boost, or sorry, Lakitu boost. And next up, Moo Moo Meadows, more nostalgia. Now I could see this being a good track to try to do bagging on, in hopes of getting triple mushrooms. But it's so chill. It's chill enough. We hope Nabbit does not get any sort of red shell. But we do still have some funny little tricks here. As we're going to go for... Never mind. We'll go for that next lap. Oh, we don't want to see green shells because they are... This is a very enclosed track with all the fences. So the green shell are very liable to find you. We are unfortunately actually going to get past. But this does mean that we can potentially get a mushroom. Triple bananas, okay. A mushroom would have led to one of the most powerful shortcuts, but we're going to try again for cow bounce. We're going to try and get a better angle on this. Cow bounce. That hay bale really not helping. It is possible to get tricks off of the little grassy sides, but it is very much not easy. Oh, Luigi has 2 green shells. all types of shells last, well, probably all items last 30 seconds. Hence why it's very easy for them to still make their way up to me by bouncing off of all the walls. Of course, cow bounce. Oh. It is possible to hit that cow too low. Nice little feather cut there. You do have to balance the feather with how much time you're losing to the air time. So did that save time? Who knows? But it looked cool. And one more nostalgia for the road. Mario Circuit, which is actually comprised of 3 different Mario circuits from the SNES. Which is frankly a good way to include the SNES game, the SNES laps. Is just having them all be separate laps. Now this is a very good course to bag on, because triple mushrooms, you are skipping like half of the track with those. Triple mushrooms and a star, potentially. But I go forward. Me like feather. I can hear the green shells. Although we do have this one nice little corner skip here, where we take this a little tight. And we have to release the mini turbo early. Because if we hit the grass, or the dirt, before releasing, we will lose all of our drift boost. We just simply will not get a boost. Yeah, one last feather cut for the road. I'm just gonna jump over this section here and hit the boost. That course is still a minute long. 1 minute. So very short, very simple. And finally back to the original courses with Acorn Heights. One of the most intriguing courses, I would say. These shortcuts are very fun to pull off. And of course, this was one of the courses that was seen in the Knockout Tours, as all of the tours end with one lap of a real course. Or, I shouldn't say a real course, but of, you know, the standard courses. Alright. Okay, we're still going to be able to get this. Okay. I did specifically want to hit that lamppost. I unfortunately jumped off too late. But thankfully we can keep out of the way of this green shell. But that is how I go for that shortcut. There's a handful of ways. Another way is, of course, with a feather. If the game shall be so kind as to let me. I'm going to try and hold the feather as long as possible because I do not trust the game with the boo. Yo, and we got a banana for protection. Left trick. Yeah. Unfortunately, getting onto that second rail is a little finicky. Because it is kind of just as easy to trick too much and head off the side of the left of it. But it's not too punishing to miss it, at least. We're gonna try for this version again. Okay. Yep. And the acorn. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. The game kind of ate my input there on my second left trick, but we salvaged it, at least. But a very fun course. And next up, we have Absolute Cinema with Boo Cinema. Everyone's favorite. For some routes, I know some people like to end with Boo Cinema, just because, you know. Although it is a fairly simple course on paper. But we do have this really nice effect on this movie screen, where as you get closer to it, it counts down like an old cinema, as well as going into this sepia filter area. That was a very scary red shell icon. So feathers will not really help us here, but we do have this very small strat at the end. Hopefully I can hit it, because trick here, and then trick here. Okay, I did mean to hit that stack of movie reels, but... Oh, hey, a feather. So yeah, there's nowhere good quite to use this, but we can hold on to it, just because it is very slow to actually use it in passing. So we shall simply hold on to it for a red shell, probably. But yeah, this, for the time that this saves, it is a very reckless strat, I would say. Because if... I'm gonna try this. Okay. That... I would have preferred to keep the feather, I think. But... well... that... unfortunately... Now, the lightning makes you lose all your items, but if you get hit while you are using the coin block with any item, you still lose it as well. So, unfortunate, but 3 for 3, let's go. It's not as useful on the third lap, but it's still nice. It's good practice. So we've got 12 more courses, I believe. And next up we got Starview Peak. Shoutouts to the Mario Galaxy movie, as well as the Switch 2 Mario Galaxy releases. This is a very figure 8 course. And it's finally going to be the first time that we see major water elements. Now, okay. There was nothing I could have done to keep that banana. While your item is in the roulette, the Boo cannot steal it, but the CPU also hold their items for the roulette anyways. So, but here it is. We got water movement, and the key of water movement is that we do not want water movement. As you can see, I'm much rather being on this very small ledge, losing all of my items. As I am apparently the only person who gets items. But we're gonna keep trying to have them anyways. Now this water movement is a lot more slippery than you might think. And of course it is just arguably slower than being on road, as you'll see in some of the later stages. We are getting blue shelled, unfortunately. Of course. That is the classic Mario Kart feeling. I did think about spamming through my items to try and hope for a horn, but it's too risky to throw away a defensive item like that. So, oh my. I don't know where all these bananas came from. Probably from the lightning, actually. But, hey, one blue shell, that's not too bad. I have had some goes at Starview where I get triple blue shelled. One blue shell for every lap. And that hurts. And we just keep going with the water courses. Although this is a much better divide between land and water. Dandelion depths. Of course, very reminiscent of the Wooded Kingdom from Mario Odyssey. With this aesthetic on the metal. This is parabity construction, which implies that the parabities are sentient enough to run an entire construction area. That's very confusing to me, but at the very least, this water area is very fast to go through because there's a lot of opportunity to get tricks. And you can also trick when you come up from the water. We're going to charge a jump so that, again, try and reduce that air time while extending the boost as far forward as possible. And this is a very fun spiral to go down, chaining your drifts into the tricks. Also, shoutouts to Swoop specifically, as at least before the 1.3 update, this course was the main course where you could get the Swoop NPC character. Oh my! I think that was actually my green shell that I threw backwards. It fell down from above, which is very scary. Now there was one spot for a feather, right? That lamp that you saw on the right. We didn't get it, but there is only so much we can do to try and get feathers. I don't have to cycle my items anymore, but I might as well. Hope for a horn. And one more charge jump for the road. This has been a fairly... It was actually a very peaceful drive. Off the side. No blue shells for that. And we are now 2/3 of the way through. So keeping it up. Cheap, cheap falls. More water. It's just water. Although this is definitely one of the more intense courses, as once again we have two shortcuts. One of them is quite a bit easier. At least the version I go for. Hopefully we get a mushroom though. Alright, this is good protection, at least. Never mind. I am not allowed to have anything nice. The game does not like me. Alright, but here's our first shortcut. It's a very small one, but Here's the second shortcut. The most powerful use of the charge up, in my opinion. Skipping that entire corner with that pole jump. That is a lot harder than it seems. If you try and jump too late, you hit the off-road and your jump is eaten. And if you trick too far to the right, then you head out of bounds. And hitting the boxes anyway produces very random results. Unfortunately, this nowhere massively good to use a feather. I didn't want to go that wide, but I wanted to avoid the bomb. So second try here. Okay. I would have tricked to the right, but hitting that box, of course, was very scary. Hoping for a good 6 of 6. As well as very little items thrown at me. I think there's probably red shells coming for me right now. Yeah, I heard it. I heard the red shells above me. Oh, and we got a blue shell. Okay. If the blue shell was a little later, I wouldn't have been back on their off-road, but that was very good. And next up, DK Pass. This starts with a very precise shortcut. Hopefully I do not fail it. Hopefully I don't fail it in the worst way. But this is one of the courses where people start to learn that the AI is a little tuned up. Because you have this pole jump at the start that the AI will go for. But we're going to go for a much different shortcut. And so we're going to aim for this wall. Okay. We don't quite want to hit the wall or the rail. We did save it a little bit. And then we also have this small little... Okay. Well, it would have been a nicer shortcut, but unfortunately I ended up too far left and hit the wall. We also have this nice little feather cut that I do have to be careful with if I'm too far right, of course, out of bounds. Now there is a way to fail this shortcut where you try and take the wall too steep. Alright, that wasn't too bad at least. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that... Okay, that was... Yeah, that is the most brutal combo. A lightning and a blue shell. Because the lightning, of course, prevents you from rewinding. But we are still ahead at least, which is good. We get one more go to get this the right way. Okay, well. Oh, that was... Alright, we're gonna try this the kind of original way, where you go on this wall. I completely missed the tree. That's why I prefer the little stump way instead. It's at least easier to line up for the tree. But one more feather cut. Ultimately, not much we could have done to avoid the damage there. But still fairly good. I didn't... fail that first shortcut in the worst way. Because if you take it too sharp, you will just kind of like hit the wall and then fall down. And when you fall down, your trick goes through and you bounce back up. It is very costly. But now we have Sky High Sundae. So this was originally from Mario Kart Tour, and of course added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the booster packs. This feels like this was a game that this course was made for. The rail grinding is very clean. And it actually looks like it's all really edible. And of course, we have this shortcut. Riding the walls was also like... Riding that wall specifically was introduced in one of the directs, I believe. Which is how a lot of people know about it. And yeah, it all feels correct in this version. We'll try and jump off of that rail a little early to line up for less airtime. We're gonna hold this. Now this is like the most deadly spot to get target shocked, of course, but we take all the risk. Yeah, I think Luigi was on the wall there, having looked backwards. Ah, here comes the blue shell. Will the game let me destroy it? Okay, I definitely hoped to get a another item there, but a very good Sky High Sundae at least. Perfectly executed. Not much damage, since thankfully Kamek went to the other side. So those penguins weren't too much of an issue. But of course, back to the water. And this one is very much water-based. Wario Shipyard. Originally from Mario Kart 7. And to start off, we got this very cool tree bounce to skip this corner. And of course, just try and skip as much water as possible. So we're gonna head over here for these coins especially. Alright, we're gonna try this feather shortcut. Okay, let's go. Getting up there is not easily done. Okay, that was a very brutal blue shell spot, as it stopped us from getting back on the rail. As well as a blue shell on the first lap does not bode well. But going for this shortcut again. Oh. We'll go for this rail, why not? Because we got this cool little tree bounce. As well as that nice little feather cut. Yeah, that was... Heading off to the side there was probably the best play. No protection. But no problem. As we take those rails to, of course, avoid the water. Very dangerous to be going for that jump, since I couldn't see it. Hopefully 3 for 3. Yo, 3 for 3. And we didn't hit the wall, so we actually kept our boost there. Of course, we're gonna Head over here to get some items. I'm also going to try and show this off, where you actually go for a forward trick into a right trick. And to get an orange mini turbo off of that wall. And we're going to end this the swag way, where you actually go completely off and go out of bounds. It is slightly faster to end like that. Obviously, specifically end. Because if you do that on the other laps, well, that's just a time loss. I believe we go Salty Speedway next. Now, this is a very intense course just because we have a fairly difficult shortcut here at the start. We just hop up here. And now, rather than trying to be on the ground, we're going to hop up over here. And specifically, okay. Since we don't want to hit those boxes, we have to try and get onto that rail. Hopefully I get it at least once. Although, we do have a feather, so I'm going to try for this little shortcut here. Okay. Oh, that was very unfortunate. The goal was to hit that pole. Okay. Baby Luigi all the way in like another course with that lightning. But we're gonna try for this again. Okay. Unfortunately, I think I was I jumped onto the wall too late. So I was too low going for the jump. Okay, hopefully. Okay, just one at least. Now we do have to contest with these toads in the way a little bit. Good feather, I guess. But okay, hopefully I get this. Okay, that is how that should look, minus the box hit, but it wasn't too punishing at least. But yeah, going from the drift into the rail is very scary. We're gonna try for this. Unfortunately, I should not have tried for that. Because the margin of error, specifically once you get up onto that rail, you need to get onto that rail very quickly, or when you try and trick off of it to jump over the barriers, you just hit the barriers instead. Which, as you saw, caused a lot of airtime. The best strategy would have been trying to at least get out of bounds before the blue shell, but anyways, Peach Beach, it's back, and it is far more expanded than its previous releases. Hopefully, okay. I was hoping for at least a second place box, maybe like a mushroom. Sidestepper just got triple greens in second. Very cool. But of course, we have the standard first lap that everyone knows and loves. But now, we're going to head up to Peach's Beach Resort Castle with this much more vibrant castle town and a lot more expanded. Now, there is this one corner up here that you can take a shortcut, but when you're in first place, it's only possible with a horn or a feather, because there's 2 sets of boxes in that little shortcut. As we're gonna see, there's another shortcut over here that you can get past with like 1 green shell, hopefully. Okay. It's not much of a shortcut, but it, of course, anytime you can be on the ground over on water will always be preferred. But otherwise, a very calm and relaxing race. So we got, I believe, 4 more courses. Yes, 4 more courses. And what better way to start these 4 courses with Great Question Block Ruins, or as I sometimes call it, Great Block Ruins. This is, of course, another one of the Knockout Tour tracks that you see, and in my opinion, one of the best. It's hype because of the ending shortcut, especially. Hey, it's the namesake. We got a question block. But we got this nice little trick to get onto that rail. We're gonna use the block for some coins. And of course, we have it. It's the jump. That green shell is trying its best. But of course, that's honestly one of the best shortcuts in the game. Because it just looks correct. And the music really ascends it to, like, it knows it is that course. I see we have a blue shell. Alright, thankfully, I stayed on the rail. Because I was trying to really lengthen out that rewind. But second try here. Okay. I have been told I cannot go for the shortcut. Which is okay. We get to, you know, have some fun bouncing along the clouds at least. Better to not be able to take the shortcut than to get shocked in the shortcut. And I see we are getting another blue shell in the exact same spot. The game is so generous. We're gonna... Okay. At least we have defense. And one more... Whoa, okay. That is the risky thing. I shouldn't jump off the rail so late, because if that happens, if you jump off the rail too late, you land on top of the pillar instead of tricking off of it, which of course is... It might be possible to get a charge jump in time, but it is very risky. But otherwise, good showing. Next up, Dino Jungle, which got a massive glow up compared to its original. Because we actually have dinosaurs in this. And also, shoutouts to Shortcat. So immediately starting, we have this one small little shortcut here, where we trick off of this nest to take the head up on that Spinosaurus. Now a feather would be very powerful, as well as not hitting those water spouts. They cost you a lot of time if you get flung into the air from them. But a feather is very powerful on this track. Hey! A bit early, but we are going to hope the game lets us use it. Side-tricking off of that dinosaur is very risky, I will say. Alright. And yes, there it is. Now you are expected to do that with a mushroom, but with that very well-timed right trick, you detach from the wall. So you can get that in the front. Now just to try and go for another feather, I'm gonna go up here instead. Okay, well, one time is still a very massive time save. If you play this track online, you are greeted to everyone bagging in hopes of getting triple mushrooms, instead of trying to pull for 3 feathers, obviously. Because, of course, that shortcut is way too powerful to not try and take it. And next up, Faraway Oasis. Another course where the feather is very powerful, but only at the end, which is a little dangerous, but in my experience, this course honestly gives you a lot more feathers. Maybe that's placebo, but obviously we're going to try. And thankfully we hit all of the item boxes in this course. Also a nice little charge jump. I don't know if it really saves time, but it looks cool. And of course, a lot of rail shenanigans. We use it to get up onto this top path. Ooh. Obviously more coins is nice, but there is a very high preference to getting a defensive item. Okay. Come on, feather. Okay. And the lightning thankfully just happened, so... Ooh, we really don't want to be down here, because taking that water is... very hard to control on, but thankfully I get to show this at least once. So you can just completely skip the turn. Like... Thankfully it's not out of bounds to jump over the barrier, because if it was, like, you could still cut part of the corner off, but it wouldn't be as useful to just cut off some small grassy bit. Okay, well, one time is still very powerful. At least. And now we are on to the final course. And arguably the best one. We have Rainbow Road. Now it doesn't feel as much of a course as it does just a cinematic experience in this game. Because first of all, this is the longest Rainbow Road to date. If you don't include, like, N64 having 3 laps. Because this feels like it is made as a celebration. No reason to hold coins. But yes, of course, it's flashy. It absolutely demolishes the bitrate. It's amazing. Now we are trying to pull for a feather. We have about 3 more item sets. for at least one of the largest cuts that we can do with the feather. And in my experience, red shells don't happen as much here. Okay, okay. We got the feather. We just have to keep it. I would rather tank a red shell. Also, we got this nice little shortcut right there. Now, doing the charge jump just makes it safer. But now we have to hold on to this feather for a little bit. And we have this... Honestly, the one water section that I do not mind in the game, in my opinion. Okay, I wanted to get some of those coins at least. But as we're going to see, a return to tradition, we have this train up here with a whole bunch of references to the previous courses we've seen. And now, we have the most insane looking shortcut in the game, in my opinion. We're going to drift off here and just bounce across this massive gap. It's amazing. It's always a joy to hit it. Unfortunately, that shock did lose a little bit of time, but still, it always hurts when you don't get to do that shortcut, but hey, it's especially hype when you do. Now, there is another feather cut that we can get up here. But it is a much more terrifying thing when you have to rely on the last item box before it. Okay, well, you can just jump over that little gap right there. It's not a massive time save, but it's always fun, the more shortcuts. And of course, the final lap. We're going to hold down here, because you kind of fly into this section at a curve. If you hold down, you actually take a sharper path. Very small lore, but very useful as it saves a little bit of time. And there's one more shortcut. A feather would help for it. I should have pulled for it, I guess. But it looks especially amazing without a feather. So, I suppose, I thought about going for a double item box, but it is a bit slow to do that. Okay, that was actually a very good shock space, just because it didn't slow me down. So we're gonna charge a jump off the side, and we're gonna hit this pole. Let's go! Hitting that just feels correct. And coming up to the end, this is going to actually be a PB, thankfully. So of course, time is on the final exit, and time. Hitting that shortcut, like, you know, if that were to happen, because it is a little finicky to hit it, since you're trying to hit such a small target, but that would be a very intense way to end. But yes, that was Mario Kart World, all tracks.